Fallout's wasteland is no walk in the park, right? To your left is the latent radiation which can plague your skin and flesh, turning you into what some would call a walking corpse. To your right are the crazed raiders and gangs who, without the comfort of society, have turned to their own lawless way of life. Their one singular rule? What is theirs, and what isn't theirs is also theirs. Fairly easy to understand, no? And dab smack in the middle are some of the most vile and horrid creatures that's very existence is unimaginable outside of video games. That's called being meta. Speaking of video games, let's take a moment to hear from our channel's first ever sponsor, Opera GX. Opera GX is a special version of the Opera browser built specifically for gamers. Opera is also available on mobile, GX Mobile, and can be connected to the desktop version. As someone who identifies as a gamer, their GX control allows me to enhance the performance on my PC when I'm exploring the wastes while also watching my favorite Fallout lore YouTuber on another tab. The GX control panel allows me to limit the CPU, RAM, and network bandwidth that the browser is using. Bye bye lag. Another great feature is the GX player. Here I can access my Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube Music, and more, all from my web browser. If you like what you see, join me and millions of other gamers that are currently using Opera GX. Check out the description or the pinned comment for more info. Thanks again to Opera GX for sponsoring this video. Welcome to 1000 Ways to Die in the Wastes. Today we're going to discuss in visceral detail just how brutal the wasteland can be, even if the video games don't do it justice. This episode we're talking about a creature that is lowly and meek in terms of the actual game, but if Fallout were a reality, encountering this pest would be a brutal and painful way to go, and that creature is the Bloatfly. What, Nort, the Bloatfly? You can't possibly be serious. I've taken out armies of Bloatflies. Those guys are pathetic. They die in one hit. Well, dear Fallout enjoyer and Nort listener, while the in-game Bloatfly is a pathetic winged mutant, in lore, a Bloatfly is one of the worst ways to go. So what is a Bloatfly exactly? Well, to just about no one's surprise, a Bloatfly is a fly that has grown exponentially larger due to mutations caused by radiation from the Great War. Now, calling it just a fly may be a bit disingenuous. What kind of fly is it? Is it a house fly, a fruit fly, a flesh fly, etc.? Well, one Enclave terminal found at the Silo outpost near Springvale and the Super Duper Mart reveals that this specific type of fly that a Bloatfly is mutated from, at least the Bloatflies in the Capital Wasteland, are the Tabanus linnaeus, also known as the biting horsefly. Now, for those of you with no experience with a horsefly, these guys are freaks. They're big, pesky flies that will break skin if given the chance. Always hated horsefly season up north, man. Can't stand those buggers. Anyway, the female horsefly has a scissor-like mouth. They use this to cut the skin, and then they stick small hooks into your skin so that they can better lock themselves onto you, and then they drink your blood. Yep, blood-sucking flies. Not fun. The common name for Tabanus flies, horsefly, is due to it being a notorious pest of horses and other animals. Healthline mentions that the bite of a horsefly can cause a sharp, burning sensation, itchiness, inflammation, swelling, and potentially bruising. Some horseflies, specifically the Tabanus genus, are known spreaders of anthrax, worms, and trypanosomes. So, overall, just not very pleasant. So it's a good thing that horseflies are only 10 millimeters in length. They're small pests. Surely nothing to worry about, right? Surely. But what tends to happen in Fallout, I don't know if you guys have noticed or not, but many mutations in Fallout tend to cause extreme growth and increase in size. Mole rats are bigger, ants are bigger, lizards are a lot bigger. So if a normal horsefly is only 10 millimeters long and can cause bleeding and potentially worse outcomes, what would a bloatfly, which I would estimate to be nearly 46 times the size of a horsefly, mind you, do to a human? Well, I'll tell ya, but be warned, it's not pleasant. So that Enclave terminal from before had much more information on bloatflies than just their pre-war predecessors. It goes over a full field report on the nasty pests. It reads, Field entry, bloatfly. Field observations suggest the bloatfly's mutation of the Tabanus horsefly with provocative advances. These evolutionary forebears possessed neither the significant body mass nor projectile sting of the bloatfly. Dissection has revealed that this stinger is engorged with living pupa and neurotoxins. These projectiles are capable of incapacitating large prey on which the bloatfly and its gestating young can freely feed. These neurotoxins are only nominally effective on humans, but can cause localized necrosis at the wound. This observation is contrary to earlier assumptions that the bloatfly was primarily a scavenger. The bloatfly can be dispatched easily with light weapons, but nonetheless present a threat to the field operatives, especially when encountered in numbers. They are hostile and can strike before the target is aware of its presence. So what this is saying is that when a bloatfly is shooting you with its little projectiles, it's not firing spit or even spikes or parts of its stinger, it's shooting its offspring at you. When a bloatfly is shooting its ranged projectiles at you, they're spiked maggots. Yeah, the mutated Tabanus linnaeus is shooting living ammunition in your direction, along of course with its necrotic neurotoxin that will kill off the body's tissue in a confined region. Just thinking about necrosis grosses me out. Worst part is, it can't be reversed. If parts of your body dies, it's dead. That's it. You've got to cut around it or do something to prevent further spread and infection. It's just absolutely haunting. Fallout's bloatfly sorta reminds me of the Tyranid flesh borer from Warhammer 40k. I don't know if any of you have played the game or have seen the Tyranids, but the flesh borer is essentially a living weapon used by the army's infantry units. It fires these living borer beetles that just dig their way through the target. Living ammunition. That is fantastically sick and also disgusting. The goal of the bloatfly, at least against most creatures, is for the neurotoxin to incapacitate the creature so that its larvae can burrow into flesh and, well, feast. From here, the maggots can gorge themselves on the target until they eventually pupate and turn into bloatflies themselves. Ah, the circle of life. Isn't it beautiful? Well, if I'm being frank, it's actually quite disgusting. But fear not, these creatures do have a weakness. As with many creatures in our world and in Fallouts, they are susceptible to bullets. 10 cc's of high-velocity lead will surely do the trick. Because of this, of course, they're easy to dispatch with firearms. But that's only if you're a good shot, as according to Dr. Duff of Diamond City's Science Center, their unique gland allows the mutant to keep its balance and maintain its quick speed, despite being larger in size. If you ask me, if you want my recommendation, get some thick armor that covers all exposed skin, and sharpen up on your swatter skills. Maybe get Mo Cronin to give you a few pointers. For centuries, a metal stick with a flat plastic square have been taking out normal-sized flies, so maybe a bigger fly swatter would be your best bet. Oh, and be sure to pray that there aren't more than one attacking at once, but knowing their behavior, I find it very unlikely that you would ever encounter a lone bloatfly. These bad boys like to roam in at least groups of 2. Dealing with necrosis in one spot? That's less than ideal already, but if many parts of your body's tissue is decomposing in the event that multiple bloatflies are attacking you, well, you might have quite a problem on your hands, or on your legs, or on your chest. You get the idea. And just know that where there's necrotic neurotoxin seeping into your skin, that also means that a bloatfly maggot is also likely trying to bore its way in too. So I hope you have a spare hand to wrangle that sucker off of you. And remember when I was talking about how horseflies use little hooks to secure themselves onto you? I don't think it would be too far of a stretch to wager that the bloatfly maggots would also have little hooks to secure themselves onto you. What I'm trying to say is that when you're busy grabbing and pulling at the mutated maggot that's stuck to your leg, get ready to see some torn flesh and blood. The best case when encountering a bloatfly is that you get him before he spots you. If that doesn't work, well, get some thick layers, start swinging, and see a doctor afterwards. Because once your adrenaline has lowered, and you're coming down from the high-stress situation that is a battle with a giant mutant, you just might be an unknowing carrier for baby bloatflies. Just the combination of having to manage not only with your dead and decomposing body tissue, but also living larvae that are actively trying to penetrate your skin, make the bloatfly one of the worst ways to go in the Fallout universe. Not to mention, it makes facing the legendary bloatfly that much scarier. Anyway, that's all from me today. Thanks for watching, folks. Apologies if some of the descriptions were a bit too graphic. I just really wanted to hit home how freakish and deadly even the most meek and mild creatures in Fallout can be. If you like this sort of video, be sure to share and comment. Have a good rest of your day. Cheers.
I've seen these things lay their eggs in a sick deathclaw. Never felt bad for a deathclaw before.